Guys, we're back. We're back in the studio. Uncommon Man podcast. Josh, how you doing, buddy?
I'm all right, mate.
Why'd you never ask me first?
Why are you laughing? What?
Why'd you never ask me first? I'm joking.
I'm all right, mate. Oh, go on.
Shots.
Shut.
Who got these?
Sure.
Josh
I got these today, mate. They're vitamin D shot. I thought they were vitamin C shots, and I got them for you, Rob, because I thought you obviously can't get your vitamin C from the sun, can you?
Well,
Is that what you...
Well, first of all, it's vitamin D that you get from the sun.
Oh, so that's the...
And actually, I can generate a lot more vitamin D than someone with darker skin. So you got that completely wrong on all fronts. Okay?
No
Mark?
stuff, guys.
So...
It's got ginger, turmeric, and orange.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Who's going first?
Cheers.
Oh, cheers. Oh, hang on a minute.
I'll go first. Ready? Bottoms up.
Oh, nice.
Look, Mark, 20. Is that 20 UI of vitamin D3? Or is that saying that that's 2,000
Definitely says UG.
Where's that?
here? Because that's just like a pitiful amount. This is the thing about products, right?
Exactly.
Is they'll say a good source of protein. It's like it's got 2 grams of protein in or something.
That pisses me off, and then there's bare loads of sugar in there as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's criminal what they do.
You get tablets with 1,000 UI
Yeah, but...
of vitamin D, and that's got 20.
Yeah, but how much can your body actually intake without pissing the rest of it out? Because Deborah Meaden on Dragon's Den don't reckon it's a lot.
The recommended amount is about 4,000 to 5,000 a day.
1,000 what? Are we talking about?
UI. I don't
Arbitrary unit.
What is UI?
It's like an arbitrary unit.
It stands
of,
for
like,
something
they use it in medicine.
scientific, right? But that's the amount, right? But like, say the difference apparently is like, if compare me to someone who have darker skin, mixed race or whatever,
Basically anyone.
I could potentially generate almost 5 times as much vitamin D by going out in the sun for the same amount of
You used to
time.
put that in your Tinder profile, didn't you?
I may be pale, but boy, am I have sufficient vitamin D levels.
I think though the amount you need is probably like a scale of
How pale you are.
how pale you are,
Yeah.
but also so that's one of the things with as we get more and more in tune with like your testosterone levels, your vitamin levels within the body. They have these thresholds of like, say, testosterone, for instance, they have a low versus high scale, but what's low for you might actually be medium for me and vice versa. The same with vitamin D is like how much you need will depend on where you live in the world, how dark your skin is, your age, probably those sorts of things. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So is there any point in taking vitamin supplements?
I think that I think that you can overdo it for sure, and people get super obsessed with it. But then Mark knows more about this than me, but sometimes the vitamins, how they come naturally, they're combined with things like sugars or fats or whatever, which help them become more soluble in the body.
Yeah. So what Rob says there is like in a plant or wherever you're getting it from, there'll be stuff that makes it easier to be absorbed in the body, whereas if in like a powder or tablet, a lot of it actually just kind of gets flushed through, and you can probably see because your piss will be fluorescent. The supplements one is like the vitamins is a interesting one, because if you're someone that hates vegetables and fruits, that's the thing of itself. But like as a intermediate, like to get you more vitamins and minerals into your body, sometimes a multivitamin might not be a bad idea, but if you can get from whole foods, it's usually
Because
a better option.
matey on Stephen Bartlett hammered him, didn't he? Absolutely hammered him in between Stephen Bartlett's advert for the...
Huel.
Yeah, which is all about...
Who's matey? Who hammered them?
What's his name?
Tim Spector.
Tim Spector, yeah. Have you not seen
I
it?
didn't watch it. No.
He hammered everything. He literally said, in this is not paraphrasing what he said, exercise does not work for weight loss as well.
Well, that's just. I mean, are we going to talk about that? We can talk about that if you want.
Well, I can confirm in many ways that he's fucking right.
It doesn't work on its own. It doesn't work on its own.
But that's not what he was saying. Like, he wasn't saying that.
Have you listened to, you haven't listened to that?
You haven't listened to
His
that,
like argument was the more you exercise, the more it kind of increases your appetite, and you want to eat back basically the calories that you burn.
Right.
And then in the long-term studies, those people that lost weight often put on the same amount of weight or more than their original base weight, which I think is throwing the baby out with the bathwater in that there's so many other factors at play there that isn't just exercise. I think exercise is really good for weight loss, but it's not, as you said, the only thing that contributes to it.
Mark, how have you been, mate?
I'm ill. Apart from that,
You're ill.
yeah, that's a bit nasal for those that like.
You always
Makes you sound fit though.
fit.
Yeah, it does make you sound more attractive.
Yeah, I've been good. It's I'm enjoying the fact that we're kind of slowly coming towards spring. I'm someone that really likes the lighter evenings and I'm kind of coming out of that zone. How have I been in myself? Still lots, this year so far has been lots of working on myself that I'm still going through, and it's starting to piece bits and bobs together, and I feel like I'm building momentum. But as I said last month, it's sometimes it's quite hard. But I was actually texting Josh whilst I was away, being struggling with some few things I know he has struggled with as well, but neither of us had the answer for it yet. So it's just trying to understand myself better, which is a good thing, but understanding yourself takes some time, I think.
Just on that, not to interrupt, but I feel like people in general, right, are feeling higher levels of this anxiety, overwhelm, whatever you want to call it. I feel like it's I don't know, man, we're going through a period in the world for whatever reason, but where a lot more people seem to be, I don't know if it's because I'm talking about it more publicly, so just more people are talking to me about it, but I feel like a lot more people are talking about it, struggling with it.
Yeah, I think so. I think awareness is just hyper these days. The last kind of 5-10 years, it's mental health has come so much more into the forefront of all of our minds, and I think it's a good thing. But it just means I think people will question it a lot more. Oh, maybe I actually have some problems with my mental health or anxiety. Yeah. Even if problems is the right word, I just have mental health.
Yeah,
and so I go through ups and downs, and acknowledging that actually that's okay. And that's normal. I've often struggled, when my mental health has been poor, it's what's wrong with me? Why am I going through this? And actually it's well, maybe that's just a normal cycle of life, and you've got to accept that is going to happen.
Yeah.
I've struggled with in the past.
Yeah.
I also think that I've realised recently that you can kind of spend too much time sort of reflecting and thinking about yourself. I find it's very easy, especially in the work that we do, to feel like it's always right to really look inwards and really try and work it out. Sometimes I find just taking the attention off myself to be the easiest thing. Even just looking at something different, looking out the window at something different, and not just sort of sitting there and stewing. If I'm feeling anxious, I'll quite often the negative response is I'll kind of just lie down or sit around and just sort of stew. Whereas the much better thing for me is if I get on the phone to someone and just talk about something completely different. Not even talk about how I'm feeling. Sometimes I just want to be distracted, but in a really, really good way, and it can just break me out of it.
You know what I do? What you're talking about, I think. Snap out of it has got real bad press in today's world. Yeah. I think we used to tell everybody to snap out of it, and it was way overused. Yeah. Whereas now it's almost stigmatized to say I need to snap out of it. Sometimes the thing that I really need to do is find a way, like you said, to snap out of it. Because sometimes I'll get caught up in it, and then I'm in it, and I'm trying to work it out, and it's like you just said, you've had a shit couple of days, that's just life, man. That's life. And sometimes you can make that shit couple of days a shit week by dwelling on it. Why am I like this? I need to not feel like this. Where actually, sometimes it's right, you need to go, I'm going to snap out of it, concentrate on something else. And some of it, not always, of course, yeah, but sometimes it does, like you said, it helps you to snap out of it, right? Which is, like I say, almost in some ways stigmatized in today's world.
Do you think that there's any benefit along those same lines? I think that's really interesting, but two other phrases spring to mind: stiff upper lip and man up.
Yeah,
as two other phrases. Snap out of it, stiff upper lip as kind of just a mode of being, and man up. Do you think there, and like you said, it's been completely stigmatized, it's been completely almost like you can't even say those phrases, otherwise you're not taking anyone's feelings into account. That's the worst, most terrible advice. Do you think there's any benefit to it?
And not the second one. So when you say man up, what you actually mean is toughen up. And I think to say man up, like if we like being clear about it, to say man up, you're suggesting that toughening up is equal to being more manly, which, you know, if you've ever met a couple of my daughters, you'll realise it's probably wrong. So, like, but toughen up, yes. Like sometimes life is difficult and we do need to toughen up, right? So I wouldn't say man up, I would say toughen up. The stiff upper lip, again, I think is similar context. I'm sure there are times when we need to do it.
Stiff upper lip being kind of almost conceal your true emotions for a particular reason. Like you give the instance sometimes when you're younger of like, we might be like to a child, stiff upper lip to show mummy and daddy you're okay.
Yeah, that's huge.
Is that okay?
I think that's problematic because then it's emotional avoidance.
Yeah.
And when I'm working, if I'm presenting to a load of people, I have to have a bit of a stiff upper lip in. I don't want to sort of have a complete meltdown on stage when I'm talking about something. So then in that context, it's okay. But in day-to-day life, I don't know about the stiff upper lip one. I can't think of a context when it makes sense. I don't know.
Going back to so I think that's an interesting point you made about how assigning the sort of, I suppose, the gender to that phrase. We kind of all know what it means, but then it insinuates that men are the tough ones, right? Which is obviously wrong. But saying toughen up to someone at certain points, would you ever say that to someone?
I don't know if I would direct. On a football pitch, in a sporting event. In a sporting event. So I can give you an example. Playing football last season, the manager, we had a young lad who was in the team. It's like a adults team. We had a young lad in the team. He was saying he was cold in the first half because it was cold. And the manager tore into him at half-time. I mean, proper tore into him, yeah? And when he came out for the second half, I noticed he was crying a bit. And I said to him, we're about to kick off here. I said, don't let the other team see you crying. So walk up this end of the pitch with me. And I said, you need to bite down now. You need to bite down and you need to show the gaffer that he taught you a new one for a wrong reason and that you're better than that and that you are, you're a good footballer and that's how you're going to make it up. So essentially in that space, I did tell him to toughen up. And
you said that in a very kind of compassionate way.
I said it in a compassionate way, but that is ultimately what I was telling him to do. And just quickly as well, what I do think, I do a lot of work with like universities and schools and stuff like that. And life's hard, man. And we need to make sure that we're teaching kids the reality of life, which is there are going to be times when you are going to have to toughen up. It's just inevitable, yeah? Where if you buy your own home, if you become a father, shit's going to happen, man. And if you want to make it, if you want to achieve and you want to be successful, whatever success is, there are going to be times when you're going to need a certain amount of toughness. Now, the problem is that people look on things, particularly like LinkedIn, and people are saying all these things that sound great on LinkedIn, but they're not true in real life.
To use that scenario, I think in the moment, if you're told to toughen up, then, excuse me, then I think there's value in, okay, like I'm going to, whatever toughen up means in that football instance, potentially like work my arse off, have a positive attitude. But for him to go away and think about, okay, like why did I cry? Why was I cold in terms of like, was my preparation shit, or do I need to get in the gym and bulk out a little bit, whatever it is? As long as you reflect on then, I think if you look at the whole scenario and think, what else could I have done differently? If there's nothing else you could have controlled, then it's just, okay, I need to toughen up in that scenario and it's going to benefit me. I think the football arena, sports, is quite a different place in some ways to the rest of the world, because actually being tough I've had it in rugby as well. I was like, I kind of took a hit in rugby, and one of the senior players, I was like 15 playing for men's rugby, and they literally pulled me off the ground and were like, the coach wants to see what you're made of here. Like, you need to get up and like not show that you're weak. In that instance, being tough is valued. In society sometimes, is it a desirable quality to just tough it out? I think sometimes yes, but as long as you've explored all the other avenues of like, well, was it because I failed to prepare, or was it because there's something going on in my life that makes things difficult, rather than just putting on the front of just being like, yeah, I'm tough, like there's nothing that can get through me.
I think in both of those situations, you, like with you speaking to that younger player and that other player speaking to you, you're shining a light that, oh, you can be tougher. You have got a little bit more strength in this situation, and you're kind of saying like, I have confidence that you do have it, so, which is why I'm sort of confident enough to tell you, toughen up in that moment. And so, and you can imagine as well, and I have similar situations from a sporting background, but when that player then goes out and plays potentially well, I don't know if he did or not, but say he did, you can imagine that being a really formative moment. We have those moments where we are weak, where you get hit, and then I can imagine you coming out of that moment and be like, right, I'm going to put some big hits in now, and
imagine you doing that.
And so in that instance, it can be incredibly, and I can see it I can see it working. I can see it kind of conversations with my dad previously, where he's kind of given me a bit of sort of, I'd call it maybe sort of stern encouragement. And it being really, really helpful. So, I think that can be very beneficial.
And you're talking about nuance, right? And I think everybody speaks from their own personal experience. So when I started my own journey, when I went to sobriety and I started my own healing journey, I probably wouldn't have been able to talk in the way that I've just been talking, in terms of like needing that there was a bit of toughening up. I had this big realization that I'd been toughening it out all my life. So I did go for a period where, if anybody said you need to tough it out, I was the complete opposite. It would have triggered me. I'd have been like, you can't say that. No. Like, I'd have even probably brought that scenario with the young lad and said, well, he needed to come off. He needed space to be able to explore his emotion. But I actually, over the years, have come a little bit more back towards the centre in that, and understanding that there is the value in both. I think the problem is that if you look from like a work perspective, if you exist in a horrible culture, you know what I mean, where everyone are being pushed to the brink of burnout, and their only advice is you need to toughen up, otherwise you can't deal with it, then you're going to look at it and be a bit triggered by somebody saying it. But on the flip side as well, I don't think you will get successful in any industry without a certain level of toughness. I just think that's the truth. When I say a level of achievement, I'm talking about any career to get to the top. I work in the mental health, healing, well-being space, whatever you want to call it. I wouldn't be doing the stuff that I'm doing now if I didn't tough it out on certain occasions. Again, it don't make for a very likable LinkedIn post, but it is more like the reality.
I think toughness kind of can sometimes fall into a similar bucket as like anger, where it's viewed upon maybe negatively in society, but actually, so anger's something I've always kind of, not always, but actually since my like mid-teens, shied away from a lot because I viewed it as a negative emotion. But actually, if you can understand all of those emotions, you can kind of bring an emotion, if that's the right word, or bring an element to that, to the right type of scenario. Whereas if you've only ever known toughness or anger, that's all you're ever going to bring. If you've only ever known empathy, kindness, that's all you're ever going to bring to scenarios. Whereas if you can understand the power and how to release something like toughness or anger in the right way, it can be really powerful. But I think a lot of people push some of those so-called more like negative emotions away because it's like, oh, that's... And I think sometimes we're actually, as a society, in some ways, we're moving away from that, like allowing anger and toughness to be kind of accepted because we view them as like quite antagonistic, but they can be really useful.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to sort of somewhat drawing boundaries as where is the appropriate space to show anger or to show like lots of vulnerability. Like on the flip side of that, so you've got You got possibly anger. Let's take the workplace. Anger in the workplace. Okay, we're realizing that that's probably not a very good place to sort of show anger in certain ways, and vulnerability being really sort of encouraged. But at the same time, you know, people being overly vulnerable all the time in the workplace. You know, say you're trying to have a big meeting and someone's really oversharing about something very personal. It's probably not the appropriate space and not the right environment, and perhaps those people aren't ready to receive that and to be there for you. So I think it's like, that's something I've kind of realized as well. Like maybe a couple of years ago, I kind of was like, okay, I want to be like a really open book, like a really open person. I'll try and, when I'm having conversations with new people, I'll try and sort of open up to them quite quickly, perhaps. And actually realizing that, no, that's not always the appropriate thing to do, or the best thing, actually not the best thing for me. Actually, it's good to wait a little bit and earn someone's trust a little bit before deciding to sort of share certain things. Have either of you?
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And I do, like, again, I think if you look at anybody that's at the sort of beginning of a journey of self-discovery or finding themselves, they will overdo the vulnerability bit. It's almost a little bit addictive at the beginning, yeah? Because you be vulnerable and everyone's like, oh, you're so vulnerable. Then you realize, actually, this is like quite draining for me. This is not like, it's quite energy sapping. And then actually, when I look at if I, reflect on my own experience, I'm very protective actually of my own vulnerability, although I kind of work in that space and talk a lot about it. But I allow my vulnerability to show up in different ways. I will allow myself, if I'm trying to listen to you, to be vulnerable and to be with you in that space. But I won't necessarily be vulnerable by bringing all my own stuff to the table. And on the flip side, with the thing that you said about anger, I think anger is actually a really good thing to have at work, right? Because anger's a great motivator. It motivates you to do what's right, yeah? It's about how we channel it. The thing is when we think of anger, we often think of banging the table, shouting and offering out someone for a fight. Well, actually, that's using anger in a certain way. But if you look at like big progressions that we've made over the history of the world, they were driven by angry people who took their anger and said, this isn't acceptable anymore, I'm going to be motivated by it. Do you know what I mean? And so even when I look at like a lot of the work that I do, some of the like toxic parent stuff and all of that, the underlying driver in some of that's anger. And it's like, what do I do with this? Yeah, from my own personal experiences of different things, well, I'm going to take that and I'm going to channel it. And that's what makes me do some of the work that I do, you know?
I heard recently on a podcast that anger is not a base emotion and that it's actually pain.
Mm-hmm.
So that the idea being that if you're showing anger or feeling anger, it's because actually you're feeling pain in some way. Would you agree with that?
Well, they say anger's a secondary emotion, or I prefer to put it as anger is normally a reaction to an emotion. So it's normally pain, but I don't think it's always pain. Sometimes it's fear.
Yeah.
But it's a reaction to something. I get angry in response to the way that I'm feeling. So I think it often is pain, and you can normally trace it all the way back there, but not always.
Yeah.
But it is a reaction. It's a reaction to something, isn't it? Anger in and of itself is not the feeling. Anger is what comes as a result of the feeling.
Yeah, that's interesting. Going back to the vulnerability part, I found that in the first kind of 3 or 4 Uncommon Man evenings, it was like I would, in the month leading up to it, be in quite a good space, have worked on a lot of stuff, and then I'd be super vulnerable and open up about everything in my past. That was why I had kind of been coming to Uncommon Man, and then it brought it all back up. And then after a few months, I thought, why do I keep doing that to myself in terms of like, I don't have to drag everything up and expose all of these things to myself, because some of the stuff I'm working on, I kind of actually need to just work on a little bit more in private, talk to those that I need to. I know this is something you talk a lot about. It's like, why do I need to expose myself every time just to prove how vulnerable I am?
Yeah.
I can talk about the things that are going on, but it was almost like it was bringing it all back up every single time, and there isn't always the value in that.
Yeah. Have you heard the term vulnerability porn?
Yeah.
So like vulnerability porn, where you just get off on it in the end, and like, people. I probably did this early on, and probably maybe sometimes still do. I can't think of a specific time, but like you're doing a vulnerability post, like to get the attention and validation that you need, right? And it's driven by that. And in fact, I can think of times, you know, I talk quite openly about how sometimes I do the equivalent of putting a topless, look at my washboard abs type Instagram picture that people will have a dig at. I do exactly the same thing, but I do it with a vulnerable post or not always vulnerable.
Your emotional six-pack.
My emotional six-pack, yeah. I'll flex my emotional six-pack to get validation, you know? So it's like, it's the same thing, you know? And it's not driven by authentically being vulnerable to be with people. It's driven by a want and a need to be validated, which is the same thing, yeah? Yeah. And I know you both love porn, so...
especially emotional porn, mate, which I get from you every day. God, I love it. So going back to what you're saying, it's bringing it back to Uncommon Man. I think it's really interesting. Like I was on when I went over to Ireland and did one of Pat Divilly's men's days. So Pat Divilly is a coach and does men's work, and he's based over in Ireland. And he said something at the start of the session. We had 6 hours, I think, together as a group. And he said, if there's a way that you tend to show up to these things, maybe consider whether you want to, I can't remember the phrasing, but mix that up a little bit. Maybe show up. So if you're a bit of an oversharer, maybe decide that, no, I'm going to hold something back and explore something different today. And that really resonated with me. And I decided during that, I'm not gonna, my instinct, my go-to is like, I need to talk about, I'm in this space, I need to talk about all of these really hard life things or experiences that I had when I was younger and share it with these men, because that's what we do in this space, right? But actually it was really interesting. So I held back from doing that. And I felt kind of hesitant, and I felt kind of, okay, this is a little bit new. But then it meant the experience, I was really sort of stepping into looking forward as opposed to constantly looking over my shoulder. But I think the only reason I was able to do that was because of the sessions where I have been exploring those things. And I remember we had when we were at the Uncommon Man session at Gymshark, and I said, I had a kind of a big share at the end of one of the sessions, and I said, I think I've finally hit the bottom of the ocean. I think I've finally shared everything. I kind of feel like I need to at this point. And I think since then it's been a process of stepping forward, looking forward, moving into action, moving into a slightly different energy. And when I do that, I feel so much better. I feel so much better. But knowing those sessions are there, when something does come up, then I can explore it. But if I've spoken about something 3 or 4 times, why do I need to speak about it again? It just brings it back up again, like you said.
Stepping into your power, mate.
Sorry?
Stepping into your power.
Power.
Was that your thing of the year?
Stepping into the power, yeah.
What was it? Was that your intention of the year, was it?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Did you set an intention for the year?
That's trademark.
I think... I can't remember what I said for this year.
It was a big one then.
It was massive, yeah.
A lot of meaning.
I think maybe it was just like... Sorry?
Do more kissing.
Yeah, lots of kissing.
With tongue.
Yeah. I can't remember. What was yours?
Huh?
What was yours? I'm blushing now.
I don't think I had... I don't think I set an intention. I set some goals.
Yeah.
I set some specific goals.
I'm the only proper coach in here.
2022. I bet they're
by the way,
smart.
I set one every year, but like I don't. It doesn't come into my head outside of January.
You mean your intention?
Yeah. I mean, it's like not. It's very gimmicky for me. I do it because everybody does it.
Yeah, that's okay.
But I don't.
Maybe subconsciously it
No.
ruminates in there a little
No,
bit.
it doesn't.
No. Oh, okay.
It's a crock of shit. No, I'm joking because I know Haas, for example, does them, and he really does.
Intentions.
Yeah. And he has like a word of the year, and he brings it up.
People swear by that. Yeah,
I know,
people
man.
Think it's
Yeah.
really,
Word
really
of the
good.
year. That's interesting.
Yeah, so I was listening to a guy. He said gave an example. He said that his word of the year was money. So he's making an effort during that year to upskill. No. Merlin Trotter, the guy who read our tarot cards. Yeah, he told us we're all going to be coming into money very soon, and we're just kind of just still checking the clock.
Not really, baby. I want to get my money.
But yeah, so the idea being that you have this kind of theme of the year, and you do things that, you know, you're reading books based on that word, you're having conversations based on that word, you're making changes based on that word. And I think what I like about it is that you're not then flicking between things and getting like 5 or 10% of everything. You're trying to dive deeper into a subject. Take, for example, like you didn't do this because you set a intention, but those years when you were working in the factory and putting your podcasts in and listening to audio tapes of Gabor Mate, you know, you had Gabor Mate might not be a word, you know, might be the word or the theme or whatever, but you were immersing yourself in that subject. You're going to get way more from that rather than doing like 1/10 of that for 10 years.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if you're systems based, it's really good. Like Hass is really systems based. I use him as an example. Like he'll get a system in place and it'll really work for him and he'll stick to it. I'm not system based at all. Like forget trying to give me a system. I'm too scattered.
Yeah, but that's maybe why the theme or the word kind of would work for you better then in that case, because
because even that's too fixed.
Right.
Like I could sort of tell you if you wanted that, like, you know, that relates because I'm stepping into my power, but I hadn't thought of it until you said it.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I remember everything about you.
Yeah. Did you give up anything for Lent?
Did I give up anything for Lent?
Yeah.
When's Lent?
Religion. Didn't you?
After Shrove Tuesday, which is Pancake Day.
Oh, okay, yeah, I gave up pancakes.
Did you have pancakes?
No, there was a thing. I was here on Pancake Day, but no, my phone got robbed out my hand on Pancake Day.
Oh yeah. Nice.
So,
did you give up anything for Lent?
Toyed with the idea and then decided no.
what was you thinking of?
Chocolate. You know what? I used to have a little. I'm not even from a religious family, but I used to give up stuff for Lent.
Yeah.
I used to give up chocolate, but my little workaround was I could still eat Nutella.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I'd eat Nutella.
Just have jars and jars of Nutella.
Did you give something up then?
No, I didn't. No, but I kind of I thought, oh, maybe I could have done. In some ways, I quite like the idea of it. I suppose I'm continuing with the alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm kind of continuing
Cheating.
with that. Cheat.
That's what you're doing.
What do you mean?
You're doing something that you're already doing.
Okay, basically, yeah.
Yeah. Get into it.
Yeah. Do you know what I've been doing?
Yeah, I gave up working in a factory for Lent.
So if there's speaking about the alcohol, I'll literally like if Roz has poured herself a glass of red wine, I'll go up to the glass and I'll go.
Do you? God. Honestly,
the craving's still there, man. It's still there, strong.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you sniff the wine and that?
Yeah. Sniff it. Give me a little buzz.
What you want to do is
Also,
get Sambuca and light it.
Yeah.
Like get a Sambuca in a glass.
Yeah.
Swirl it around the glass so it's all over the glass.
Yeah.
Get rid of the excess Sambuca.
Yeah.
Turn the glass upside down, light it.
Stick it to your ass.
And then go like that so the flame goes out and then chug the glass.
Oh,
that's what we used to do when we were on drugs.
In Swindon Town.
Yeah, man.
Nice.
So that might be one way of...
I also heard that a ripe banana has 0.5% alcohol value.
Oh, I thought you were going to say
so
that as well.
I've just been having like 10 bananas at a time. And that gives me basically a pint.
Flaming Zambuca, actually the drink of choice of my uncle.
Really?
And my uncle.
Really?
Carry on. You go first.
Oh, my uncle used to live in Tuscany, lovely little house out in the like middle of nowhere. You'd think quite like kind of civilized. Went around. What would you like to drink? I was like, oh, can I have a beer, please? Go out into the garden. It's a lovely, like warm sunset evening. He put us out with a flaming Zambuca. That's just what he drinks on an average day.
I knew a lad that burnt his chest to buggery on a 18 to 30s holiday with like...
Burnt his chest to buggery.
That's probably not a very good term, is it?
It's got a good alliteration. Burnt his chest to buggery. It sounds good, so you're like...
Well, yeah.
What happened?
But on a 18 to 30s holiday, they were doing flaming Sambucas and one got thrown over his chest and he couldn't put it out in time. It burnt him bad, yeah.
Wow.
Like he proper burnt, scarred up chest and that, yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, because it creates the vacuum, doesn't it? And then you can
Yeah.
stick
I
it to
didn't
yourself.
put me off him though.
No.
I loved Sambuca.
Oh.
Honestly.
I
could drink
one of the
Sambuca
first
like
times,
Really?
water.
one
Yeah.
of the first
loved
times
it,
I got
man.
really drunk was on Ouzo, which is a similar
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
vibe,
yeah.
right? Really, and my dad was telling the story the other day where I had a few friends around. I was probably about 15, and my friends, smuggled in alcohol. Basically, my dad was like, "Okay, you can have one Budweiser each," sort of thing. And then little did we know we'd I'd taken half a bottle of vodka from his drinks fridge. Someone bought a whole bottle of Ouzo, and then by the end of the night, I was in my drinks cupboard, in my clothes cupboard, just sitting there like completely drunk.
Did you ever used to do shit mixes? We used to call them.
What's in
Sounds
that?
So you just have like an empty water bottle.
Oh, and then just fill it up with
You'd
anything.
just fill it up with a shit mix of all the stuff.
Oh yeah,
in your parents.
It's kind of like the dentist chair
alcohol.
vibe.
Yeah. And then we just drink that with some Mad Dog 2020.
Does anyone really feel like going out now?
What's Mad Dog 2020, by the way?
MD 2020. Did you know we used to
What
have
is
that?
it?
The little like bottles of stuff. No.
No.
We used to have that and vodka and cherry aid.
Mad Dog 2020.
That sounds like something from Swindon.
Yeah, that's
So
a
yeah,
Swindon
we used
drink.
to have that and then smoke a load of bong.
First thing I ever got drunk on was a bottle of limoncello. Woke up like really
classy.
sticky.
That
Like
is
this
so
kind-
you as well, limoncello, like
How
an
old
Italian
were
aperitif.
Little shots.
Yeah,
How old
classic.
were you when you blacked out completely for the first time?
Probably 13.
Yeah, I was 15, playing Ring of Fire, and I was trying to pull out, because in Ring of Fire, the Kings is the worst card, I think, you got to drink. And I was literally trying to find the Kings to drink. They called an ambulance.
On for you?
For me, and we were at a house 4 doors down from my mum's house. So I was like, and the next day I was like, why don't you just like take me home? Called an ambulance. They brought me home. My mum, I was out of it. I told my friend Danny that he could stay at my house that night. So my mum's obviously, I'm like passed out. She's put me on the sofa, and she's, bless her, brought a mattress downstairs and like sleeping on it. I've woken up at like 6 a.m. and like, where the fuck am I? She's got her back to me, and my mum, bless her, has like got short hair similar to Danny's. So I'm like shaking. I'm like, Danny, like, what the fuck's happened? My mum turns around, it's like, get up to bed now. And then in the morning, I'd been sick everywhere, and she like made me come down like 8 a.m. and like clear everything up. It's probably good training, but yeah, that was the first time I passed out. I also tried to smoke a cigar the wrong end.
Oh.
So it was a lit end that I was like, and so I like burnt all my mouth.
Were you doing drugs as well?
No drugs.
Were you doing drugs when you was young lads, teenagers?
No, I was a
No.
late bloomer.
I remember rolling. I remember being on we had this thing at school called the CCF, which was the Combined Cadet Force. So basically, we dressed up as army soldiers. We dressed up as army soldiers and basically went on these like pretend like excursion things. And we had to sleep in these, I can't remember what they're called, but like basically you have a sheet under you and then a sheet over you, but it's like completely empty. Freezing cold night. We were all just like shivering so much, and it had been raining. So we decided to like make a fire, which we weren't allowed to do. And then I was like, oh, let's smoke something. So I rolled up a piece of paper with like dried leaves and just tried to smoke it. And that was like my first like
How old were
smoking.
you when you was doing that?
13. and obviously that would have been terrible for you.
Was the CCF an organised club, or did you just run it?
No. That would be a very me thing to do, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I think, all of
no.
a sudden, I'm glad I found drugs at 12.
Yeah. No, at the school you could basically join like.
So were there teachers with you on those?
No, there's special like army people.
And they were letting
What, like
you roll
Ant
up the-
Middleton's there with you?
Basically,
And you
yeah.
were trying to smoke leaves.
If
out
you got
the back.
Ant Middleton on Wish, yeah,
That's me, innit?
yeah, basically, yeah. You could have gone either way, couldn't you?
Yeah.
You could have been Ant Middleton, but no. So what's the plan for tonight then? I was thinking maybe we explore a few. What do you think? Because we've talked about the format of it before quite a lot. Do you think that we should continue having a general share space followed by the breathwork, or do you think we can sort of challenge them in different ways, or maybe that should come separately?
What do you
Something
mean
we
challenge
did.
them? We could get them to do like
Do
a
fair-
CCF exercise.
Yeah, get them to go out. Yeah, now we're moving in the
Foraging.
right direction.
Make them all go up on the roof and smoke leaves.
Yeah.
Something we did. So we did our first Uncommon Man hike.
Yes.
The start of February, which is great. We had a good group come out, but we stopped in these woods, and one of the things I quite liked was people talked about stuff that was coming up for them, but then I think it was Rob, you challenged them to, it was like 1 or 2 things that you could be doing to like remedy that, or like keep working in the positive. Like so we always say at Uncommon Man we don't want to fix anyone, or like we're not there to basically heal you. It's just a space for you to come and share. But I think sometimes we could challenge people to be like, okay, what can you proactively do that will help yourself? And then it's the emphasis at least on them rather than us being like, you should do this, this.
Yeah.
But sometimes like, rather than allowing them to wallow, which sometimes not wallow is the right word, but like just focusing on the negative, like
We're
okay,
saying
what
that
can
from
I
our
be doing?
personal
Yeah,
experience.
yeah,
we've done
exactly.
that, yeah.
What can you be doing? That's like at least gives them
I
that
think
little
we used
spark.
the word probably intention, like we were talking earlier. Like
Yeah.
we kind of everyone shared something, and we had taken a wrong turn. We'd ended up in this bit of woods where there was this tree that's trunk had kind of grown almost in a circle. I don't know if it was somehow engineered, and then someone had lit a sort of fire there in the past, so that was kind of there. So it was kind of this perfect little circle to sit, and the shares were really, really nice, and it was nice to do it in a different space outside in nature.
He was absolutely off his head on the old leave.
I was rolling up the leaves
with the MCF boys.
Mad Dog 2020. And then so everyone shared, and then it was like, okay, well, let's go around again and just sort of set an intention. Is there something that you wanna do, that you wanna like work on or focus on, that might be related to what you've just sort of shared? And that was really interesting, actually. That was really interesting, like hearing how people were looking to sort of approach it. Be interesting to check in with some of those guys, see whether that's been sort of helpful, I suppose. But yeah, that was nice. I think you'll come on the next one, right?
Yeah, man.
IB for the next one, isn't it?
IB for the next one. Yeah. Keep doing them on a weekend when I've got all the kids.
It's really easy for you to get away.
Definitely done that on purpose. Yeah.
But there's something about getting outside, as we all know. But it mixed it up completely, right? Because rather than it being, sat down opposite someone,
yeah, man,
we're walking side by side through the woods, talking. And what was really cool, because everyone who came had obviously previously been to an Uncommon Man. So what's quite cool when you do an Uncommon Man meetup is like, okay, I'm in the mode where if I want to, I can share, and people are listening.
Yeah.
And I'm receptive to it. It's talking about appropriate spaces. It's like, it's very much an appropriate space. And people just started sort of sharing naturally as we were sort of walking through the woods and having these kind of connections and talking for as long or as little as kind of people wanted on something, which was quite cool.
And you're kind of in a slightly different environment, obviously, but often Tuesday night you might have come straight from work, or it's Tuesday as well, probably my least favourite day of the week. It's like you've still maybe not in the greatest of moods or whatever it might be, whereas Saturday morning, ideally you're going to be like, you're quite fresh, you're in different clothes, you're in a different environment. We saw a different side to some people as well, which was nice, and I think they're more comfortable sharing in some ways. I had some really good chats with some of the blokes about all sorts of like random stuff, which isn't necessarily about mental health, but it just built another connection, which was nice. You missed like a really, really good chat.
Yeah, thanks, lad. Yeah.
Did Jimmy beat the Rockets though? Or was that fabricated?
No, it wasn't fabricated. It's Reggie was playing against his other Rawton team.
Did they win?
Oh, fuck. Honestly, kids' football is the parents are an absolute joke, man. Honestly.
Toughen up a bit.
They, like... I won't... I mean...
I heard something really... Sorry.
It was Rawton against Rawton. Just in the group afterwards, a couple of the kids have had a bit of a Barney on the pitch. And rather than like the blokes, the adults, the parents just calming it down, they've just carried it on against each other in the WhatsApp group afterwards.
Fantastic. It's entertainment for you at the very
Oh
least.
my God, Matt. Great. Honestly, when I played men's football, like I was hated, renowned for being hated. I made it my business to be hated, right? That's how I played, yeah. I've had some venom shouted at me on a football pitch from people on the sideline, and players. I've never experienced anything like what it's like with the kids. The parents, it's a million times worse than what I experienced at adults football. And all the parents think their kid's the next Ronaldo.
I heard I'm going to forget who it was from, but there was an experiment done where at a kid's sporting event, if you shout reaffirming things like, great effort, you reward them for their effort basically throughout it, rather than like, what are you thinking? All that sort of stuff. The team just gets better and better and better.
Yeah.
Like they did this with loads of teams, and the performance of those teams just got so much better. So like, say someone fluffed up a shot or something like that, it'd be like, great idea, good thinking, next time, all that sort of stuff. And I imagine you probably don't hear stuff like that all the time at the kids' football.
The only time I will mention another child's name if I say, and I don't say a lot, I stay out of it a little bit, but I can't imagine saying something bad about somebody else's child.
That's crazy.
When I'm watching the game, I just watch the game, and if someone does something good, I'll say great shot, great effort, great tackle. It doesn't matter whose team it's on. I just say that. You get parents out there, they're like, ignore him, he plays for them. Look at this little idiot. He's flying. Honestly, Honestly, I had a row at one of the games with one of the parents because they were talking about my son.
Yeah, I'm not
And they
surprised.
don't know it's my son.
You're like, Leah, calm down.
Yeah. But it got to the point in the end. I said they're 11 years old. Give it a rest. Yeah, but he's flying in. He's diving all over the place. I was like, he's 11.
Yeah.
And then I ended up having there was.
He broke my son's neck. He's 11.
No, but honestly, this woman had a Pinocchio jumper on, and I wasn't very nice to her about it.
Straight to taking the piss out of what she's
juggernaut.
wearing. Amazing.
I said, you're sat there in a fucking Pinocchio jumper, in a bloody deck chair, in the middle of a dog shit covered field, shouting at an 11-year-old. You need to get a grip. Yeah. You're telling an 11-year-old to grow up. That's the one time.
And then what did she say? What, just because you've got 3 rings on your hand doesn't mean you're the boss of everyone.
Do you know what about these rings, right? Just quickly, because I know we're out of time. When the day these rings came, I put them on. Right.
Did you feel a power as you put them on?
No, I put them on, right?
My precious.
I really like them, right? And so I put them on, and then about an hour later, I was making some content, and I made this video, a minute long. It was a reel. Can't remember what it was.
And you're doing this all the time.
But yeah, I watched it back. I had to redo it because I was going, and you know, the thing is that, you know, like when a young person's got a new tattoo, do it. I was doing that, proper doing it. I watched the video. I thought, I can't fucking post that.
You got to send it to me, man.
I've got to redo it. No, I don't even know. If it's on my phone, I will have a look. And
Which is your favourite one, aside from your wedding ring, of your new ones? So you've got straight sort of silver
thumb
vibes.
rings. Yeah.
Then you got the overlapping hands, and then what's this one about?
That's broken pieces that have been put back together.
Okay, so when you flick the bird to me, you're kind of saying that.
Yeah,
I'm kind
so
of broken.
that's probably my favourite looking one. I got that one, was the broken pieces put back together. That's the clasping hands that we do on the breathwork. Yeah, together like that. And then that's a thumb ring that I saw Gabor Mate wearing once, and I proper hero worship him. So I was going to get one.
Right, just to wrap things up, lads. On the theme intentions, what's your intention for the rest of today and the rest of the week?
The rest of today is to be in it, to be present. Yeah. And the rest of the week is to get busy. Yeah, hustle.
Get busy, die trying.
Hustle, yeah. Get rich or die trying, yeah.
For today?
Bring positive energy to the day. And the week would be to ensure I have some quiet time.
Sniffing wine.
Sniffing wine. No, just ensuring that I have some moments of calm. That's how I'd describe it, but that's better. Just ensuring I have some moments of calm, just to bring it down a bit.
And Mark?
So I was just giving you some quiet time. For the rest of today, I want to have some fun with it. So the rest of this afternoon, have some fun with the lads.
Have some fun with it.
And then bring some positive energy to this evening. And then the rest of the week, preparedness.
That's not a word.
Preparedness?
No, it's not.
Preparation? Preparedness?
Preparedness.
I've got a lot of we've got some like work projects going on that I need to be prepared.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Is preparedness a word? Put it in the comments.
Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm looking at the wrong camera.
Nice one, lads. Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys. Thanks a lot. Thanks for sitting through that, mate.